And some breaking news in college football. Mississippi State announcing the firing of coach Zach Arnett this morning, effective immediately. Arnett was named head coach last December following the death of Mike Leach. Shortly after, he led the Bulldogs to victory in the ReliaQuest Bowl. But they are just 4-6 this season and 1-6 in the SEC. Senior offensive analyst Greg Knox will now serve as interim coach for the rest of the season. Looking at Zach Arnett's resume at Mississippi State, 5-6, that's the record as a head coach. 4-6 this season, 2-6 since starting the season, 2-0. And again, replaced Mike Leach in a very emotional time, December of 2022, winning the ReliaQuest Bowl against Illinois. And we have Marcello here with us on HQ to talk about what this means moving forward. Mississippi State firing their head coach, Brandon. And Arnett led the Bulldogs to an emotional win, a really, really tough spot for him to be in after the passing of Mike Leach. They win the ReliaQuest Bowl. But why fire him now, and what has gone wrong since?
Yeah, he came in and kind of just tried to change the entire identity of the team, change the entire offense. They're trying to become more of a defensive program, and they just didn't have the personnel for it, and it didn't work out in the win-losses column, and I think it didn't really set well with a lot of people there, and now they're moving on. And the problem is Zach Arnett came in, and they looked at him almost as like a stopgap coach. Like, maybe we can get through a year or two here with him, and if he's really impressive, we'll keep him. But it was very clear early on that things were just not working. So now the AD there, Zach Selman, he's relatively new. He gets to come in and hire his own guy.
And Brandon, we're looking at the offense here, the stats, and it is just bad. Mississippi State towards the bottom of the ranks in almost every single category. So when you're thinking of top candidates, do you think they're going to be looking for somebody who is more of an offensive-minded coach, considering those struggles that we just saw laid out there in that full screen?
Not necessarily. Here's some early names I'm hearing. Georgia defensive coordinator Glenn Schumann right now is a hot name to really keep an eye on. And then staying in the region, Troy head coach John Sumrall, who's done a fantastic job the last 2 years in competing in the Sun Belt. He's a name to keep an eye on as well. UNLV head coach Barry Odom is someone to keep an eye on. Liberty's Jamie Chadwell, who just got there a year ago after being at Coastal Carolina. And then how about this? Why not just call up Dan Mullen, the former Mississippi State head coach who brought them to a #1 ranking not all that long ago? He's someone who is out there on the free market. Not sure if he wants to get back into it, but also Mississippi State might be wanting to kind of move on from the past as well. But some interesting names there that don't necessarily all have offensive backgrounds.
Yeah, Dan Mullen, not only with Mississippi State, but he's familiar with the SEC with his stint at Florida as well. The SEC is going to get harder, Brandon. We got new teams coming to the conference, and now we have 2 openings in the SEC with Texas A&M moving on from Jimbo Fisher. Between Texas A&M and Mississippi State, what opening is more appealing in your opinion?
Well, obviously Texas A&M, they've got all the money in the world. They've got fantastic facilities, and they've got the much better roster filled with blue chip prospects. In fact, you look through history, they had the best recruiting class ever just a couple of years ago, and every #1 recruiting class in the 24/7 Sports composite in history has ended up going into the playoff or the BCS National Championship game. So Texas A&M is on the clock. They should get to the playoff here in the next year or two, and that has to be appealing to any head coach out there. A&M is going to go after big-time blue blood coaches already in the Power 5. Guys like Washington's Kalen DeBoer is out there. Big names. Mississippi State, if they're going to go after Power 5 guys, most likely going to have to be assistants and coordinators, and then also head coaches on the Group of 5 level.
We know A&M is going to be spending a lot of money on that buyout for Jimbo, $75 million. Brandon Marcello joining us here on HQ as we're talking about that breaking news out of college football. Mississippi State announcing the firing of head coach Zach Arnett.